Normally, I like to highlight the left being owned by conservatives on this channel. However, today I want to highlight Abby Phillip, one of the most disingenuous hosts over on CNN. And I want to show you how she treats a conservative being interrupted by a leftist versus a leftist being interrupted by a conservative. But before we begin, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe on this video so we can get through the algorithms. Here we go.
You look at what has been happening with these traffic stops, which are extremely dangerous on both sides. This seems like the worst politics. I mean, let me play. This is Nirav Shah, who is running to replace Susan Collins as a Democratic Senate candidate in Maine. Listen.
There is a straight line between from Senator Collins to the tragedy that we saw yesterday.
A couple things. So one, I think the knee-jerk reaction we're seeing from him and some of the other candidates to basically call ICE a rogue agency, I don't think that that's going to gain traction either, because we saw this similar sort of vein in 2020 where the backlash to a few disturbing incidents was to say, let's defund the police. That didn't go over. And so I think in the same way, the side that the left is taking is also going to have backlash. And people do want ICE. They don't want to see ICE abolished. And so I think the left is going further and further in a way that actually will alienate voters. One other point, though, I think Trump feels very keenly and folks in his administration is he was elected to do this. He was elected because people wanted deportations. And I think it's important when we talk about this issue to provide the context, because they see every day that passes, if we aren't deporting potentially unvetted illegal criminals, there's an opportunity cost to that. There's an opportunity cost to that. Every single day, every single day. Last week there was somebody. Last week there was.
And he was not a criminal. And over 70% of the people that are getting deported and
my point is that every day
have criminal records. So be careful with your words and be accurate on national TV.
My point is that
you're lying.
I'm not lying.
You're lying.
My point is,
if the man had a legal status here, he was not unvetted.
So we don't. No,
do you understand how immigration works?
Let me just clear this up. In the two cases that we're talking about here, you have one individual who had no criminal record, who'd been in the country for 35 years, had never had an interaction with law enforcement, and he was not the target. In Maine, you had somebody, we actually don't know what his immigration status was, but we do know that he had a work permit and he had a social security number that was issued to him.
And that is a tragedy.
And Anna is correct that most of the arrests that are being made are people who do not have criminal records.
I understand that.
This worst of the worst thing
there is an opportunity cost.
Not
Last
fully
week there was a
accurate.
trooper in Pennsylvania who was killed by somebody who had a commercial driver's license who didn't speak English. Every day there's something that happens to Americans. And so the administration is looking at that bigger picture. They're looking at the context. And they're realizing we also need to prioritize.
What is this collective punishment thing that keeps coming up every time we talk about immigration? Why is it that someone else's crimes are the responsibility of other people who did not commit those crimes?
But to Anna's point, they weren't unvetted. That's the point. Like, these are people that are here. I think Anna's right. You don't actually understand the process that someone has to go through when they come and immigrate or apply for work status.
A lot of people didn't go through that process.
So here's the thing, but we're talking about the two individuals that were killed.
Work permit, that man had been vetted.
Full stop.
If he had a work permit, that means that he either had a political asylum claim pending or he had some sort of claim pending, a residency. Something was pending if he had a legal a work permit. You don't give work permits to people who are here illegally.
And they weren't on the target for the love of God.
What is not going to change here is the fact that ICE is not going to go away. They're going to continue to do the job.
There's also a widely reported quota that has been put into place that has increased the pressure on these ICE and Border Patrol officers. They have flooded the streets with people, some of whom are new to these agencies, who are doing tactics that they really shouldn't be doing, that are actually against DHS policy. But it doesn't matter, because the most important thing are the numbers, to Stephen Miller at least.
Right. But both you and Lydia brought up this idea of doing away with ICE. No one is suggesting that. In
fact, I'm just making a point.
But I got what you. I want to finish, so I'll let you finish.
Some people are suggesting
but the stop was not put in place by someone who wanted to get rid of ICE. He's running ICE. He just said, let's pause for a second.
Which is what I just said.
But if you would let me finish, I would let you know what I'm saying. So do we want to do this? No, we don't want to do this.
Let's not do this craziness.
Let's
calm down.
Just let him finish his thought.
So what I'm saying is the president simply can't take a win. The numbers of people who have been detained have been going
down
up.
significantly.
No.
Chair Michael, please, let him finish his point. Thank you. Go ahead.
So a temporary pause would not have harmed or done away.
That, Charles?
Do you want to talk again?
Just go ahead.
Go ahead and talk again. Because this thing, I'm not going to do this.
You're making points that I acknowledge.
I'm not going to do this thing. I'm going to make sure that you understand that I'm not going to do this thing.
When people do that to you, you get really upset about it. Just please let him finish his thought so we can even understand what he's trying to say.
Get some duct tape because he can't seem to stop talking.
Just go ahead, Charles.
What I'm trying to say is this. A temporary pause wouldn't harm them at all. But Trump is so invested in the optics of looking tough rather than actually doing the job that he wants to do, which is to get rid of more people, which is not something that I'm in favor of, because they are so tilted towards people who are not dangerous. They're not criminals other than having been in the country illegally. Like, this whole worst of the worst thing is a complete farce. And in fact, the radio host that we just played said that. They don't care about the worst of the worst anymore. Every single person. And what the president didn't do was acknowledge those deaths at all. So Charles, basically, these people are collateral damage in his war.
Would you see the point of pausing temporarily for further training?
That's what I said too.
Okay.
Holy crap. Do you see the difference? Do you see the contrast? You have Lydia Moynihan. She's making her point, and then what happens? Ana Navarro jumps in, jumps all over, does not stop talking. And does Abby Phillip ever say anything? No, she doesn't. Does she ever say, let her finish her point? No, she doesn't. All right. But on the other hand, when you look at Shermichael and he interrupts Charles Blow, who sucks, by the way. All right. When you look at Shermichael, he interrupts. And as soon as Shermichael does, what's Abby Phillip doing? Let him finish his point. Please just let him finish, and then you can talk. And more often than not, Abby Phillip is the one interrupting someone else and stopping them from making their point. And of course, that's something I say time and time again on this channel, all right? The left have to actually stop people from speaking. They can't allow another viewpoint to come out, because what happens at that point? Oh, all of the arguments come tumbling down. And some people on the left who actually watch CNN seriously might actually get some different relevant information, okay? But let's go ahead and talk about what's going on here. You have, of course, the shooting of Joan or Juan Sebastian Guarro, and apparently he did actually reside at an address of someone ICE was actually looking for. Okay, so this situation is by no means clean. However, of course, what's the point that Lydia Moynihan was actually trying to make? People want ICE. People want police. They don't want either of them defunded. And Donald Trump, yes, did have a mandate to deport illegal immigrants, right? That was a huge portion of his campaign. And guess what? People still agree with it. Definitely on the violent illegal immigrants. And according to Harvard Harris, 44% say all illegal immigrants, okay? Regardless of whether or not they've done anything else once entering this country. And that's the point that Lydia Moynihan is trying to make. But Ana Navarro is very upset. You're lying, right? You're lying about this. The guy was in the country legally. Now, yes, apparently he did have a social security number. However, under Joe Biden, he issued over 2 million social security numbers to people actually seeking asylum or making asylum claims. So just because he had that number doesn't make him legal. And that, of course, goes to the further point that Lydia Moynihan is trying to make, okay? We see every single day illegal immigrants actually harming and in many instances killing American citizens, whether it's police or the general population. And of course, the left never gets upset about that. However, of course, whenever we find ourselves in these situations, the left is going to say, oh, ICE is horrible. The Trump administration is bad. I can't believe they're doing this. When, of course, as a matter of fact, as I mentioned, Trump has a mandate. And a mandate, by the way, that the left actually opposes. As Charles Blow himself says, right? I do not agree. I am not in favor of deporting illegal immigrants. You come into this country illegally, you get to stay. All right. However, of course, they're also not for deporting even the violent criminal illegal aliens. All right, because if they were, California, New York, all of the blue sanctuary states and cities would be opening up their prisons, allowing ICE to come in and take every single illegal immigrant out. But since they're not doing that and they're not speaking up about it, that's how you know they don't care and they don't want anyone kicked out of this country, which of course was the game plan from the left all along. And I just hate how Abby Phillip sits there and pretends to be nonpartisan, when as a matter of fact, she actually does everything she possibly can to stop people on the right from making their valid points. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and say hi to your mom for me.